Hey there, Georgie here with Ukraine Matters. Today is going to be a very short and sweet Frontline update as I've gotten pretty sick and right now I'm all the way up to my ears in pills, and even with them it still is a bit foggy for me. So just bear with me here, but let's go over the Frontline and what's happening there. After hearing this non-stop cycle and flood of pro-Russian narratives that Ukraine is collapsing, is about to fall, it didn't collapse and is not about to fall, as it turns out. Because even on this southern direction that we're going to be looking at, it's now been stabilized. Ukrainians are reporting the situation is becoming very much under control. Reinforcements have arrived to the area, and there has been an established more proper control of the area. This is good because this area, this whole southern front line altogether, has been a problematic area altogether. All of this is basically summer campaign that Russia was able to achieve. And the good part is that there is no critical elements in this area, and I've underscored this many times. But because the territory here was very sparse, so Russians were able to essentially color a lot of map, therefore presenting that Russia gained some major progress in the area. But now they've actually reached some of the areas where Ukrainians have defenses. Some of the last defenses was specifically around Rivnopilye. This was lost by Ukrainians after Russia was pressuring this area for quite a long time, and Ukrainians just withdrew from this area to a better defended positions, and specifically around Hulyai-Polye. And Hulyai-Polye is the main area that we are interested in. So far, Russians have not yet reached any critical borders of Hulyai-Polye, and Ukrainian control of Hulyai-Polye right now is not allowing Russians to essentially advance further east. It's just well to nicely defended positions that allows Ukrainians to both have the control of territory, have the control of high ground, and generally it's a pain in the butt for Russians. It's going to take them a while to get through this. And more than that, right now we're also hearing that Ukrainians are not really wasting their time. And there are reports that Ukrainians are building new fortification lines in beyond this direction. I explained to you that the biggest threat for this direction attack is that a lot of the defenses that were built by Ukrainians, specifically in the south, were built to defend against the attack from the south. So when the Russians would attack from the east, they would sort of flank some of the Ukrainian defenses. But now with the attack around Hulyai-Polye being stopped and Ukrainians now are able to put some engineering work in, they're now going to be able to create a more layered defense infrastructure in the area. So Hulyai-Polye is doing its job. It's buying time for Ukrainians to prepare. So no breakthrough for Russian, no major win, no quick access to Zaporizhia or anything else. Our second news, also very positive, come from direction of Ivanivka right over here. So this was the direction where Russians stated that they were advancing sort of the most. This was their breakthrough to Novopavlivka. If you remember, there was like a big breakthrough and then Russian columns were spotted here and then destroyed later by Ukrainians. And the direction of Ivanivka was considered to be one of the most forward positions and the one that was supposed to generate this Russian breakthrough forward into the depth of Ukrainian territory. Well, unfortunately for Russians, if we scroll to the modern timeline, you see that Ukrainians actually successfully counterattacked Russians on the direction of Ivanivka. The reports are that Ivanivka is fully liberated, and also right now Zeleny High, which is right next to it, has also supposedly been either liberated or at least fully transferred into the gray area. So Ukrainians have conducted a pretty successful counterattack. Together with the fact that they've cleared out Novopavlivka, they basically contained any kind of Russian forward breakthroughs in the area. So now this whole area is moving from a Russian breakthrough to just a regular sort of a front line. I already talked about Pokrovsk last frontline update, and the good news is that, as you can see, almost nothing has changed. So when Russians are telling you, it's like, we're capturing Pokrovsk, Pokrovsk is about to be captured, when you look at this, and it's like, Georgie, this looks exactly the same as a week ago. Yes, exactly. Which means one thing and one thing only, that no, Pokrovsk is not done, no, Mirnograd is not done. Again, Ukraine is holding majority of their positions, and more than that, Ukrainians are having further successes towards the north of Pokrovsk. There have been reports about Nikhanorivka and Shakhove fighting additionally. Uh, Ukrainians so far were not able to clear out Nikhanorivka, but Ukrainians still control Rodinske, and they hopefully will be able to recapture Krasny Liman, which is located right over here. But so far, they have established additional support for the troops that are inside of this pocket. All in all, Pokrovsk has been stabilized. The fighting there is tough. I want to underscore that it's not easy. It's one of the toughest, if not the toughest fightings that is happening right now there. But it's not like it's a collapsing and everything. Ukrainians have actually turned this around pretty well. Some reports came in during the last couple of days about Russian attempts to move forward in Chasiv Yar. Chasiv Yar has been there for almost 2 years to fight against the Russians, and while Russians were able to capture the northern part of Chasiv Yar, the southwestern part, which is arguably the most critical one, is still in Ukrainian control. And as you can see, Russians haven't really been able to advance anywhere further. The same kind of goes for Konstantinivka. Here, Russians were able to reach some of these southeastern parts of Konstantinivka, but they were also very promptly kicked out. But they are still trying their attacks. And despite the fact that Ukrainian soldiers are stating that the fight for Konstantinivka has begun, generally speaking, all of the fighting is happening only on the outskirts, and Russians are nowhere close to even reaching it. I'll just remind you that Russians were reaching the outskirts of Konstantinivka around supposedly March of this year. So they are not really advancing at all. So to sum up the situation on the front line, Ukrainians have truly stabilized the situation. There is no right now critical breakthroughs. Even the fight for Kupiansk and Pokrovsk, Mirnograd are ongoing, if I can say, sort of a like orderly fashion. I know that's a weird thing to say, but it doesn't mean that Russia is achieving anything. And the expectations are, we recently talked with Greg Terry and Professor Gerdes, and together with some of their guys from the front line, and they are also stating that right now, with winter coming and potentially snow coming in, we will see additional slowdown on the situation of the front line being changed. So Russians truly are out of their window of opportunity, and we are now coming into the period where Ukrainians will be allowed to breathe out, do some rotations, reinforce their troops, and with hopefully some additional changes in the internal politics of the country, additionally resupply the forces with manpower. Some other news related to Frontline that is worth mentioning is, first and foremost, as reported here by Noel, between September and November, Ukraine's air defense forces destroyed up to 100 Russian-guided aerial bombs. The new countermeasures and weapons are being tested to reduce the effectiveness of Russian airdrop precision munitions. 100 aviation bombs doesn't sound that much, knowing that they're basically thousands every single week, but it is still good because we don't really know the full scale of these tests. But the good news is that apparently those interceptors are at least working, and now they're going to be refining to improve their efficiency. So there are countermeasures that are being developed, and they are showing potential. So we're just waiting for them to be scaled up to help Ukraine. Ukraine has also scaled up their kinetic sanctions, this time targeting Russian shadow fleet. One of the major things that Ukraine could do is put pressure on these shadow fleet vessels, because there's a lot of countries that are willing to insure the Russian shadow fleet, therefore circumventing a lot of the sanctions, because a lot of sanctions they are stating was like, well, you cannot travel around with this Russian fuel, unless you're insured. And the only way that we get do it for is to increase your insurance premiums, so to say. So Ukrainians are saying is like, well, let's just make your cargo just that much more dangerous to transport. So all of the known shadow tankers fleets that are indeed on the sanctions list, these tankers are all known that they are supplying Russia with money, are now being targeted by Ukrainians in the Black Sea. And finally, a very curious situation with friendly fire happened with Russians. So in this video over here, you will see Russian ships in Novorossiysk launching long-range cruise caliber missiles. And these missiles usually would fly towards Ukraine and hit targets inside Ukraine. But because Russian air defense cannot really distinguish a Ukrainian drone from a Russian missile, then you get a video like this where after launching of caliber missiles, Russian air defense actually intercepts it and shuts it down right above Russia itself. There we go. Russia is fighting Russia successfully. Guys, I want to say huge thanks for everyone that is participating in a fundraiser for the Black Raven and 93rd Brigade. We're doing fantastically well. I was expecting that we will be doing like half of this, but you guys are fantastic and thank you so much for participating. Our goal is still massive, 400,000. I'm expecting this to go for multiple months, but if you can participate more, I truly appreciate it. And remember, if you're in the US, you can follow the link for the Arts Wine to get yourself some Ukrainian sparkling wine from Bakhmut. And Art Wine will forward some of the proceeds of the purchases to the fundraiser. In my book, that's a win-win-win scenario for all. So support Ukraine, trust in Ukrainian armed forces. As you can see, they have proven all of the naysayers that they can do it, and they were able to stabilize the situation on the front line. Believe in Ukraine. I love you. Slava Ukraini, and I will see you next time.